This is Pastor Steve with an encouraging word. Our middle daughter Laura just got engaged. It's an exciting time in the Brown household as we prepare for a wedding. And thinking about that wedding got me thinking about Jesus' first miracle. If you remember, it took place in Cana of Galilee at a wedding. It's found in John chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. Let me kind of summarize the story for you and then bring it home. Jesus was at the wedding along with his disciples and his mother Mary. And it was the third day of the wedding, and Mary came up to Jesus and said, "There's no more wine." Jesus said to her, "Dear woman, why are you involving me in this? My time's not yet come." But Mary heard what he said and then turned to the servants and said, "Whatever he tells you to do, do it." Well, near them were 6 big stone jars. They're the kind that held the water the Jews used for ceremonial washing. Jesus said, "Make sure they're full. Fill them to the brim." That's about 20 or 30 gallons each might have held. And after they had filled them with water, he said, now draw some of it out and take it to the master of ceremonies. And they did so. Let me read what happens next. And the master of the banquet tasted the wine that had been brought to him. He did not realize where it had come from, but the servants knew. He called aside the bridegroom and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you saved the best for last." This was the first of the miraculous signs that Jesus performed in Cana of Galilee. These were to reveal his glory, and his disciples put their faith in him. It's kind of an amazing story on several levels. But one was the fact that, did they have a need or did they have a want? Did they really need more wine after 3 days of drinking? Or is it really something they wanted? Mary made the request, and we're really not sure all of what goes into that request, whether it's a need or a want. Sometimes we get hung up on that. Do I really need this? Maybe I shouldn't pray about it. I maybe want it more. Or I really need this, so I need to pray about it. We need to talk to God about the things we want, the things we need, and not worry so much about which motivation is behind it. The important thing is to talk to God about it, bring it to Jesus. And that's what Mary did. The miracle that was performed caused the disciples to put their faith in him. Anytime we see an answer to prayer, it increases our faith, and it makes us trust Jesus all the more. But if we don't talk to him about things, if we don't pray about things, we get hung up whether we're trying to decide inside us whether it's a need or a want, or we should or shouldn't pray, or does God even care? God cared about a simple thing like wine at a wedding. I remember when our first daughter got married, the food began to run out. And so there's a magical word we used to give the caterer. It was replenish. Now I know how replenish is spelt, M-O-N-E-Y, because every time they replenished the food that was being served, it cost us a little more. It was added to the bill. Of course, Jesus doesn't do that. He gives of his grace, his miracles freely in our lives. And we're the beneficiaries of it. It helps increase our faith. Needs and wants, I think sometimes we get too hung up about that. And it stifles our conversations with God. I remember my junior year at Wake Forest. I was coming back from a class, making my way across the quad and heading back to the dorm. And I remember thinking inside, boy, I really like to have a candy bar. That'd be great. I didn't so much as pray it. I really don't think I directed my thoughts toward God. But when I got back to the dorm, when I entered my room, there was a candy bar on my desk. Now, the fellows sharing that suite with me, the 4 rooms in the common hallway, no one ever said where that candy bar came from. I'm not sure either, but I think God heard a prayer as was on my mind. Did I need a candy bar? I certainly wanted a candy bar. But God heard the prayer. God was listening to my thoughts. God was aware of what was taking place in my life. And I verbalized it more in my mind than to God, but that's the thing we need to do, is to verbalize the things in our hearts and minds to God and trust that God can sort it out to make sure we have the things we need. Those disciples put their faith in Christ, even though they did something for someone else. They were encouraged by what took place on behalf of someone. They'd have other times when they would need food themselves because they were hungry and watch Jesus multiply the food. They would have times when they were afraid in a boat and Jesus would calm the storm. There have been times when their own needs or wants were answered. God took care of them. And God will take care of you and I. So let me encourage you today to pray to God whatever's on your hearts and mind. If it's important to you, make it part of your conversation to God. And the God who sees the little things and the big things, knows our wants and needs, is often waiting to respond. And as we learn to ask Him and talk to Him about all the things inside, not trying to sift out the motivations inside, but trusting Him to give us what's best and right in His own time, then our faith will be strengthened too. And we'll get a chance to see God work in some pretty amazing ways, whether it's wine at a wedding feast or a candy bar on a desk. And that's an encouraging word today from Pastor Steve.